Hello and welcome to Unstoppable Unbreakable, where each week we'll hear from Granada Hills charter coaches, special guests about honing our talent with hard work and how that makes us unstoppable and how building resilience makes us unbreakable.
Hello, everyone. This is Jose Garcia, the boys soccer coach here at Granada Hills Charter High School. Today, it's my great pleasure to have a good friend, mentor, and colleague in Mike Kodama, former coach at Burroughs High School in Burbank. We're going to jump in and talk a little bit about our topic. Our topic is the lasting power of a coach's words and how skills can be forgotten, but how words leave a lasting impression with our athletes. So, Coach Mike, thank you very much for taking the time. Obviously, when I was given this topic, I mean, you were like the first guy that came to my mind when this came up. And I think, you, someone that's been doing it for such a long time. So you being a coach at John Burroughs High School for 30 years, you've seen a lot. You've had players come and go. So we'll just go ahead and dive in. Just tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into the coaching profession.
The coaching aspect goes back to actually when I was a little kid, maybe I was playing soccer and someone said, hey, this guy knows the game. I was 14 years old. And so then I started helping out one of my brother's team, the coach of Taft High School, Mike Kodama. Right. So when I was 14, he was 10 and his coach asked me to help. And by the time I was 16, I took my own team. And what was interesting is being 16 years old, I asked my father to be my assistant coach. So for those in your class and or high school age, can you imagine being 16 years old and telling your father what to do? And so I learned a lot. And then the following year, we switched roles, coaching baseball, where he was head coach and I was assistant, and then coached club. And one of my club players was playing at the high school, and that's how I got into high school. Is they needed a coach, and I stepped in. So, 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, for those who don't know, your brothers, both Matt and Rob, have been coaches at their respective clubs as well as at the high school level.
Right.
Both at Taft and at at Crespi.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, we've talked a lot, and we kind of speak the same language. One of the reasons that attracted me to take the job here at Granada Hills Charter was first of all, the value that the school has on academics, and us talking a lot, even from my days back when I was at San Fernando, another great academic institution. We talked about the value of academics and all that, and you're someone that also values that at your years at John Burroughs. So just, you can go ahead and just talk to us a little bit. What's been your experiences, both as an athlete, as a coach, with the power of our words and how they have an impact on our athletes, even more so than the skills that we teach them?
It's funny, Coach, you bring that up because you have people come back. I mean, one of the beauties of coaching at an institution for so long is I'm there, and every year players come back. And when they come back, they talk about not the skill that they learned, but the life lessons that they learn. And a lot of the phrases that we as coaches use actually come back in many ways. An example was this past year when I was at the high school coaching. My son Mitchell, who's 22 years old, was coaching, and Josh Sanchez coached, who was 21, and Tito Tejeda came back and coaching, and he was 19. And I'm listening to the three of them, and the words that they're using are a lot of the same words that I use, that they're using with the players themselves. So to hear that and to hear those phrases that you and I may think of as just something that we do, come back like that, it was very, very rewarding to hear them and for them to use those to teach the next generation of players what's going on too. So words are very powerful. Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, I think we both had that experience. At my last year at San Fernando was the same thing. I remember it was an alumni game, and I had a former player come up, and he said, "Coach, can do you mind if I say something to the guys, to the players?" Like, yeah, by all means, go ahead. And he the thing about this player is that he was a young guy, he was a sophomore. That year we were fortunate to make the CIF City Final, and hadn't played much all year, and he came into the final and played most of the game, and he went and talked to the guys, and he said, he told them about that experience, and he says, "You guys have to be ready." Just like Jose, told us, and I'm listening to, it's like, oh man, I did say that,
Yeah.
And it's like, I was, he told me be ready. I wasn't playing much, and then boom, he threw me into the final, and I played the whole game, and I played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Said, but I kept that in the back of my mind. The idea, the quote, the saying of always be ready, prepare.
Right.
And we preach that a lot to our players, and it's kind of cool when you hear them say it and repeat it, because sometimes we forget the things that we say, man. Sometimes
right.
Me and you get caught talking so much that we're like, say, oh man, like, we kind of forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely the words that we say truly have an impact, because I think we both know that although we want our athletes, our players to be successful and hopefully play at the next level, whether it be college or the pros, we know that a lot of them are going to need skills and certain values to apply into the real life.
That's right.
Now, you yourself, obviously, a lot of people know you as someone that coached for 30 years at Burroughs High School, won 11 league titles, had some great years, had some so-so years, but for the most part, always competitive, always a team that was organized, that was gritty, that worked hard, and that wasn't going to give you anything easy. What a lot of people don't know about you is that also you're a professor. You're a professor at USC. You are an activist in the transportation planning business, and also you're an activist, more in particular with the Asian American community. How do you see that, and what have you seen? I mean, as far as how can you relate to that? What do you have to tell our players about how those values that we teach them, or to coaches and players, how that has a significant impact, not so much in sports, but in their everyday lives?
I think that what you're saying is very true. It's interesting because a year or so ago, I was taking a leadership class, and someone was asking about the different ways that you talk to people and work with people. And then during the class, as we were kind of going through it, the lady who was teaching it said, it's not that much different whether you're working with high school or you're working with college students or you're working in your professional life. What you do and what you say are actually very, very similar in terms of what you're looking for. So, like you, I want players who work hard, and I want players to be gritty, and I want them to be able to, there's no such thing as fail. If you don't do something right and it doesn't work, the sun's going to shine, and can you get up the next day and keep going, right? And that's part of life, and that's what's happening. So that same sort of attitude, whether you're playing in soccer or you're studying for an exam, and not every exam, at some point in time, you're going to go through something and you don't do so well. So how do you recover from that, right? And or you may have a situation in a job where you make a decision and you have to stand up, and it may get you fired, but do you stand up or not? And you stand up for other people. Same thing with being involved with as an activist. Do you stand up for people? I've had people question that. Why do you get involved? I said, because it's not right. and people stood up for me, and people have stood up for people in my community. So when there's an opportunity to stand up for someone in their community, I'll stand up, and I want to be known as someone who will stand up. So yeah, you got to put your words and your actions right up front, which is no different than playing soccer for me or for you, because I know how hard the guys work for you and the reputation of your players everywhere you go. And they always work hard, and they're always tough to beat, and they're gritty, and they think, but they also have a level of sportsmanship, which is always outstanding. Your teams are known for that too. So you may, go in there and with a crunching tackle, and yet at the same time, if a guy gets hurt, you're going to pick him up and see if he's okay. That sort of thing. And doesn't matter what the score is, the guys don't quit. So it's the same thing in life. As you kind of go through it, those same principles apply. And it's funny because you may not see it now, but 5 years, 10 years, 15 or 20 years, at some point, it'll come back. And that's what's fascinating, is to hear guys who played for me say, that when we talked about that, and that day we weren't doing so good, and we had to kind of fight through it and came back from behind. Wow. I've had to do that so many times in life,
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, it's, for someone like yourself that's had and coached for that long, I'm kind of getting to that point where guys come back and, stuff. And it's like, oh man, at one point you can say like, oh man, am I getting old or what's up? But
right.
At one point you're like, that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We want to leave a legacy. But those are skills that they're going to need in life,
Right.
We're obviously, we're not easy guys to, coaches to play for. We can be tough, we can be demanding. Right. We recognize that. But like we tell the players, this is nothing compared to what you're going to see in real life, because real life is going to throw some punches at you that you're not going to see. And I think that's what we try to do. And I think sometimes we get away from the fact that it's about teaching them life skills. And most of our players are motivated to go to college. A lot of them are motivated to this, but once you get there, hey, now you compete with a different group of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, it really hits you in situations like, and I think I probably shared it with you. One of my players was a Marine heading into a major battle in the Middle East, and he passed word through one of the counselors at school to get a hold of me and thank me for the lessons he learned playing soccer. He's going to lead his squad into battle. That really hits home. I mean, when you hear that kind of thing and what he went through and the lessons he learned on the field that he pushed through, and he said, and he talked about, I remember that day when we didn't do so good and we lost, but we had to kind of fight through it. And then next game we had to come back and play. He goes, and when I was sitting there and we were getting ready the night before, I'm thinking of soccer, and it was a break for him, but also the principles he learned playing high school soccer, he took with him on the battlefield. Now that hits you, that hits you right here. That hits you right where your heart is.
Yeah. I mean, that's powerful stuff right there, man. I mean, it's like I said, and it's encouraging to know that, your former player, remembering those words in a very hostile, very dangerous situation, be able to use that to not only help himself out, but those of his unit, those of his battalion, because it's powerful stuff. We don't think about that, but to know that you somehow had an impact on that is amazing. It is amazing,
right.
Coach Kodama, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to do this. Thank you very much. My best to your family. And we hope to see each other soon once all this craziness ends. So we'll see each other on the soccer field.
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me. It's a privilege and honor. So I really appreciate you thinking about me, and to your students and to the community in Grand Hills, and to those playing soccer. They're lucky to have you. So Coach Garcia, thank you again.
I'm obviously, gonna miss not seeing you and playing against you out there. But obviously, you always got a seat with us right there at Granada, and we won't get mad if you sit on the tap side when we.
You've been one of my close friends. I'll have to split my time there. There you go.
There you go, man.